So if you manage a Cisco ACI fabric, you know firsthand that one tiny change can have massive fabric-wide consequences. That's exactly why today we're zeroing in on the ultimate safety net, mastering configuration backups and rollbacks. Look, this isn't just some best practice to check off a list. It's the one essential skill that can literally save your entire network from a single mistake.
All right, here's our game plan for today. We're going to start with why backups are so ridiculously critical in ACI. Then we'll walk through creating them, scheduling them, and, of course, the exact steps for recovery when you need it. And we'll wrap it all up with some non-negotiable best practices that'll keep your fabric safe and sound. Okay, first things first. Why do ACI backups matter so much? Honestly, it's pretty simple. In a software-defined fabric like this, your configuration is the network, the whole thing. So protecting that configuration, that's your number one job.
You know, it's so crucial to really let this sink in. This isn't like the old days of traditional networking where you might mess up a single device. ACI's policy-driven nature means your changes can shoot across the entire environment almost instantly. And that reality makes having a reliable rollback plan absolutely essential.
And that brings us to our hero, the configuration snapshot. This is your safety net. The best way to think of it is like a perfect point-in-time bookmark of your entire fabric's configuration. It lets you instantly hit rewind the moment a change goes sideways.
All right, enough theory. Let's get practical. We're going to jump right into the APIC GUI and see exactly where all these operations live. Because hey, knowing where to go is always the first step, right?
And there it is. Your home base for all this is right here, under the Admin tab and then specifically in the Config Rollback section. Now, you might see an older import/export menu floating around, but trust me, this is the recommended modern way you want to be handling your configurations.
Now, this screen right here is your first critical decision point, the scope. You see, you can back up a single tenant scope, which is kind of like saving the settings for just one department's applications. It's handy for small, isolated changes. But for real-deal disaster recovery, you need a fabric scope backup. That one captures everything. All your tenants, all your system policies, the whole shebang. Think of it like this. Are you backing up one office or the entire building? Making the wrong choice here could leave you high and dry during a recovery.
So now that we know where to go and what scope to choose, let's get into the how. We're going to walk through creating a full fabric snapshot and, this is critical, saving it to a remote server. Honestly, that's the only way you should be doing this in a real production environment.
We're going to follow these 3 key steps to make sure our backup is stored safely off-box. First, you tell it where it's going. Second, you select that location. And third, you kick off the snapshot. Simple, clean, and effective.
Okay, so from the Take a Snapshot pane on the right-hand side, the whole process starts by clicking that Location drop-down menu. And as you can see right here, you're going to select Create Remote Location. This is how you introduce the APIC to your external backup server.
And this dialog box, this is where you have to be meticulous. Every single field here is critical. Give the location a name that makes sense, pop in the server's IP, and please always use a secure protocol like SFTP. Then you just fill in the path, username, and password. Double-check everything you type in here because a simple typo will cause the whole backup to fail.
You know, taking manual backups it's good, but automating and securing them, that's what separates the pros from the amateurs. So let's talk about how to put your backups on autopilot and make sure they're locked down tight. Now listen up, because this next step is non-negotiable. It is probably the single most important part of this entire process. Before you do anything else, you have to define a global AES security passphrase. If you don't, your backup will be critically incomplete because it won't include any of the encrypted passwords for things like vCenter or your AAA servers.
And I'm not just making this up, the documentation is crystal clear on this. I'm going to repeat this because it is that important. A backup taken without the AES passphrase is an incomplete backup. It will be missing all of your critical system passwords, which makes a full restore basically impossible. So once you've got that security piece configured, you can use the little scheduler icon you see here to set up a reoccurring backup policy. You can have it run daily, weekly, or whatever custom interval you want, and just point it to your secure remote location. This is how you make sure you always have a recent, complete snapshot ready to go.
Okay, we've been super careful about the backup process. Now, let's talk about the what-if scenario. What if your fabric is down, or somebody pushed a bad config, and you need to recover like now? Here's how you restore your fabric from one of those snapshots you saved. Restoring from a local snapshot So one that's stored right there on the APIC itself is really straightforward. As you can see, you just pick the file you want from the list and click that rollback action button. Super simple.
But to restore from your secure remote location, which is the more likely scenario, there's just one extra step. First, you're going to use the import function to pull that snapshot archive file back onto the APIC. Once it's imported and it shows up in your local list, you can do the rollback just like we saw before.
Before we wrap this up, let's go over the critical rules of the road. These are the non-negotiable points that are going to help you prevent common mistakes and make sure your backup strategy is totally bulletproof.
So let's just boil it all down to the absolute essentials. Number 1, always set that AAS passphrase for a complete backup, and make sure that same passphrase is configured on the APIC before you even try to import. Number 2, remember, these are one-at-a-time jobs. You can't run a backup and a restore at the same time. And finally, stick to the modern admin config rollback menu for all these operations.
So I'm going to leave you with this one question to think about. After seeing all these details, the importance of scope, remote locations, and especially that AES passkey, is your current process robust enough to actually save you when you need it most? Now's the perfect time to go and check.